Hello, my Poke people. I'm Poke Lady K, and this is my Poke Retreat. If this is your first time with us, welcome. For those of you who've come back, can you believe we're on episode 7 already? Okay, Poke people and Poke grown-ups, let's talk playing this game at home. We may have done this differently compared to some families or card lovers. We started with opening packages and playing the board game before we started getting into a little bit more serious collecting and making our own decks. We weren't really sure where to get started when we were first looking at how to play the game at home. There were so many pre-made decks, we just didn't know where to start. So we started with this. It is the Pokemon Battle Academy, and we had the older version, which we still do, which has Charizard and Mewtwo and Pikachu. And they do have a newer version of it out right now, and it has this guy on the cover. So we have both, but we're still playing with the old boards, and they are getting pretty worn out. We got ours at Toys R Us, but you can get it pretty locally at a lot of different places. Your local card shops may carry it. It could be available at Canadian Tire if you're in Canada. It could be available on Amazon or even at your local GameStop. This board game was the best choice for our family. It came with a hardboard instead of a paper board like a lot of the pre-made decks do. It came with everything else that you needed to play the game, right down to booklets on how to actually play. The board itself does have instructions on how to guide you through each turn, and it was super useful when we were very first starting out, especially with the kiddos. Now, not everything comes in those booklets. We still have had to look online on the Pokemon forums to see if we can get some dispute resolution when you're playing against each other, but so far it has been the best addition that we could have had to our collection, and it was a great way for us to get started. Once you get going, if you want something a little bit more sturdy than those cardboard placeholders, you can get them just about anywhere. You can get them individually at your local game shop or online. You can get dice from the dollar store. You can open up some ETBs, some Elite Trainer boxes, and you can get your dice and damage counters and everything else that you need. For us, playing the game as a family was really about getting experience together, and it wasn't about the tools we were using. So that doesn't really matter as long as you're playing together and you're having a good time doing it. Once we started playing more consistently, we found that the pre-made decks did get a little repetitive, especially with the kids wanting to play the same ones over and over again because they had their favorites. So we decided that we would branch out and use some of the cards that we'd been collecting to make our own decks. Scary, I know, and it was in the beginning. So we used those pre-made decks as a staple. So we started out with something similar to what they've got, which is a 20-20-20 model. So 20 Pokemon, 20 energy, and 20 trainers. And trainers can be a mix of anything from all item cards to items in stadiums and supporters. So just keep in mind that that's what you're looking for when we're talking about trainers. If you're not quite interested in branching out yet and making your own decks, you can always substitute for some different pre-made decks. There's tons that come out, and they're available for every collection and every series. My favorite decks to build are fire decks and lightning decks, and maybe the odd grass deck or two depending on what cards I've got available. After you've gotten the hang of putting your own decks together, you can always switch it up. We started using less Pokemon and more of the trainer cards, getting a lot more item cards in there and being able to pull a lot faster and get to the Pokemon you want, and using all of those kind of tips and tricks that we've been trying to learn from some of the competitors, though we certainly are not as good as a lot of the professionals that are out there right now. My favorite for a lot of my decks is that Raikou V, and it's got my Fleet-Footed, which allows me to pull some extra cards and use some more abilities of my other Pokemon to help my decks get a little bit stronger than when we were very first starting out. But don't be intimidated. Abilities are on lots of different Pokemon, and I'm sure you'll find something that you'll be able to add into your deck and make it just that little bit better and maybe have a little bit more fun doing it. We've made probably close to about 40 different decks as a family. We just got so invested into it and so excited about all of the new cards that we were pulling after opening booster boxes and elite trainer boxes and just lots of singles packs that we would find from our local card shops or when we would go out shopping. So it can get a little intimidating when you have this many decks that you really want to play. We started using a D20, so that's a 20-sided dice. So that we could rotate everything in properly and make sure that we were still getting the full use of all of the decks that we'd had so much fun making. Now, when I talk playing as a family, I don't want you to discount those younger kids in the family. One of my boys was just 4 years old when we first started playing Pokemon the Battle Academy, and he learned very quickly what his Pokemon were, and he started to learn the names of the moves, and we even had my kids doing basic addition and subtraction when we were talking about what damage their Pokemon would do to their opponent, as well as what damage they were taking and how to make sure that they were staying on track. We did have to make sure we were a little bit of a referee and kind of mitigate some of the little squabbles that do come up when kids are playing against kids. But overall, it was a fantastic experience to start with our boys, and it was a really great game that we could enjoy everybody together as a family. Having the decks and the board and the Battle Academy has really turned this from a simple pack opening to a real family favorite around here. We play together, we learn together, and it's been such a great addition for us to kind of keep going. As our kids are getting older, we're hoping that we can all get more involved in the community and maybe even start doing some tournaments once they get a little bit older. They're not quite there yet, but it would be absolutely wonderful to be able to share all of our experience with the community and see what we can learn from other people as well. I hope that this has inspired you to maybe try something new, or maybe one of those Battle Academy boards. Get everybody involved. It's a family activity, and when you play together, you really learn together, and it's great time that you can spend with your kids. I hope that this will help everybody out, and I guess that is our journey for today. So I will see you next time with some big openings, and our journey will continue. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.